All right, so we have completed our row here, so it's looking really good, and we are happy with it. At least I am. Now we need to go and look at the details screen. So I hope you were able to do what I asked you, which was to filter the movie list, the get movie list, the function that gets all the movies, and then filter through to find that movie, that one movie that has this same ID. Okay, how to do that? I'm sure you were able to do that. If not, no problem. Let's go ahead and open Command E. We can go and see the latest recent files. We want to go to detailed screen. There we go. Okay, so we have all of this here. Everything's looking good. So if you look here, movie data, we are getting only this string, which is the ID. Let's change this to an ID because that's probably the best, more sense. So I'm going to say Shift F6 like that to change all of the occurrences of this variable. So I'm going to say movie ID like that. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to filter through all of the movies and then check to see if we can find a movie that has this ID. So I'm going to say val, I'm going to movie, it's going to be equal to, I'm going to say get movies, and then I'm going to invoke the filter method because it's a list that's coming out of the movies, right? So we can invoke the filter method there, and then we have passed a predicate here. So this means here we are going to have an actual movie. So I'm going to just use that there with an arrow, okay, in our lambda. And here is where I'm going to pass the actual condition. So I'm going to say movie.id is equal to movie ID that we're passing. So what will happen here if you have over movie, it's going to see that movie is indeed a list of movies. The reason being is because filter will return. The reason being is that filter here should return a list containing those types. Okay, so this is probably better to say movie, say new movie list. Okay, so now at this point here, we should have at least one movie that will match the ID we're passing. So let's see if this is true. That means in our text surface here where I'm passing the movie ID, I don't need a movie ID. All I need now is to say movie list like that, and I'm just gonna get first that's found, or I can just go and say square brackets 0 to say I'm gonna get the first index, right, of our list. And it makes sense to get the first because we should get at least one item that is matched. So it's going to be a list of just one item, so that works. And then of course once I have that object, let's go ahead and pass the title. So let's see if this works. So I'm going to run real quick. Okay, now if I click on avatar, I should see avatar. That's very good. If I click Avengers, I should see Avengers. And let's just get it random one, Narcos, I should see Narcos. So it is working. The filter is indeed working. So as things are right now, this is not what we want. We want something a little bit more elaborate, something better. Well, we can do that. First, let's get rid of some of these parameters here, because I don't want this to be in a center, because I don't want this to be arranged vertically center like this. Right, I'm going to remove that. Or if we wanted, I could keep all of that. Instead of center, I can just say top like this. This works as well. Okay. All right, so now inside of our text here, now inside of our column, we want to do something. What we want to do, first, I'm going to just go ahead and add the movie row. Now here is the beauty. Because we've created the widgets here, and we added, I only have one widget, which is the movie row. Look what we can do. I can just go ahead and call movie row as such and pass a few parameters. What parameters, you may ask? Arguments. I'm just going to pass the movie and pass our movie list, new movie list that is, dot first. Just a different way of getting something. Okay. And movie row, let's go ahead and add experimental annotation because that's what it's using. And that was added at the top there. Okay, very good. So at this point, we're calling the movie row an object, a movie object. We get that from our new movie list, which filtered and got the correct movie. Just like that. And if we run this, you will see we didn't have to do a lot of work. Click, and what do you know? There we go. And even this expanded is also working here. This is why we create reusable functions, reusable composables, because now all I had to do, ladies and gentlemen, was to call movie row anywhere I want and just pass the data. And movie row will do what it needs to do, which is display all the information that it needs to display. Okay, very good. So we have that information. Now what we want to do is we want to create a scrollable, but a horizontal scrollable view that will contain all of the images pertaining to this movie. The same way we have the lazy column, there is the lazy row as well. So now I can get rid of this. We don't need this. Here I'm going to let me put a spacer to give ourselves some space here, modifier, and let's say height of about 8 dp, just to give a space, right? And I'm going to add a divider as such, and then let's put a text, another text that says movie images lazy. Look at this, we've used lazy column, now we can use lazy row. The same thing we did, we can just go ahead and get the trailing lambda as such, and inside here we can say items, and there are a lot of functions we can override here, we can invoke. That means a lot of functions that we can invoke. What we want is the items list there. Okay, so here I'm going to pass movie list, new movie list that is. I'm going to get the first item, which is the first actual object movie that it's contained in this list, which is the only one, should be. And then I'm going to invoke the images, right? Because each movie object has the image, has the property images, which is a list, as you see here, of strings, which in this case will contain all of the URLs. All right, so in this case also it's a lambda, and I'm going to add a image variable there so we can control everything. And then here I'm going to create a card, right? This card, for now I'm going to pass a modifier and give padding, start tapping padding, and then I'm going to say about 12.dp, and then I'm going to say size because I want this card to have a size. Let's give it a size of 240 dp, quite large. And while I'm here, let's go ahead and give an elevation, because it's a card, we can actually add elevation. Let's see, this has to be after that. Say elevation, I want about 5 dp. There we go. And then inside here, we're going to do the same thing we did before, which we're going to add an image. Use the painter, we're going to use coil, so say remember image painter as such. And we don't want to request, we want data, because we're passing the URL. And where we get that URL, well, we get that from our image, like this, which is this guy here. So this is going to be each individual URL that we have in our images property list there. So we're getting each image URL and add here to be displayed. And for description, we're going to say movie poster, and that's it. Let's go ahead and run and see. Okay, click avatar, and voila, all the images are showing. How wonderful is this? Now the other thing I can do here, because we understand the power of compartmentalizing our code, right? We can remove this lazy row into its own function. So if you go ahead and select everything, right click, I can go to refactor as such, and you can say function, right? And then we can say something like horizontal image scrollable, or you can say horizontal scrollable image view, something like this. Okay, and it already has the parameters. It knows that we need to pass the list of movies, and all is good. So I'm going to say okay, and just like that, you can see created a composable, and there's a function and the name, and we pass the value, and everything is now set up there. We didn't have to do much. So this helps a lot because now we can use this horizontal scrollable image view anywhere we want, right? Just like we are able to use movie row. Okay, let's just give it another run just to make sure we didn't break anything. Okay, let's click this one. Voila. There are movies. Everything is working as before. And of course, you have this working still because we are using the movie row. Okay. And we have the images. So we go back again. Look at this one. We have all these images. You can see. Now I'm using my phone here. So just like that, we're able to put together here a decent application, right? You can take this idea and run with it. There are a lot of things you can do with it, of course. But the idea here is the same. We've learned a few things. So as we move forward and start building more applications, as you see here, we are going to add a few new things, a few new topics here and there to make it fun, right? So we build something, we know how to put together things, and then we learn new things along the way. Okay, that's what we're doing here. So I hope this inspires you even further to look at Compose as another tool that you can use to build amazing modern Android applications. So take this application and make it your own. You modify it. Maybe this will spark other ideas. And the most important thing is to see the way we structure this application. This is very important.